So, Chair, I would like to seek leave to move in globo amendments number 1 and 4 on Green Sheet C 2025-353C. This is about a marksmanship test.
Five minutes later.
Thank you, Mr Deputy President. I will, unlike the honourable member, speak to the amendment. Mr Deputy President, I rise to oppose this proposed amendment, which may sound simple in its face, but once examined closely, it raises more questions than it answers and risks undermining both safety and fairness in the firearms licensing system. This amendment no doubt comes from the Greens political party pretend farmer, the Honourable Sue Higginson. Honestly, real farmers don't have hands like yours that have never seen dirt or grease under their fingernails. Real farmers don't pose once a year in a J.R. Williams gear that is brand new. Real farmers don't get into a tractor once a year for a Facebook post. And the honourable member, as a faux Greens political expert on everything, whose husband has been everywhere and done everything, including being a dryland rice farmer, a former forestry worker, and now, surprise, surprise, a firearms owner and shooter. The honourable member should stick to her strength, defending guilty criminals. Apparently there is a job going defending a lowlife detritus scum who once committed an atrocity
Borsak,
at Bondi last Sunday.
Boyd, on the point of order.
All day there have been certain people who have made very personal remarks in their speeches. Not only is this personal and offensive, it's also just completely irrelevant. If he could be brought back to the amendment.
Mr Borsak, I'm going to have to agree with Ms Boyd that the last lot of comments were not directed particularly to the amendment before the House, so I just draw you back to that, please.
I'll endeavour to try to stay to the point, but it's very difficult, Mr Deputy President.
I understand, but
it will be right up her alley. The amendment talks about firearms marksmanship standard, without defining what marksmanship test actually is. Is it a paper target at a set distance? Is it moving targets? Is it bench rest shooting, or standing unsupported, or sitting in a tree stand? And by this I mean a tree stand for hunting, not one in which unwashed, dreadlocked, dope-smoking, dole-bludging hippies, much akin to what the Honourable Sue Higginson has on her Facebook page banner, who sit in trees and throw their piss and shit on law-abiding, hard-working forestry workers in state forests. Without a clear definition, we are not legislating a standard at all. We are legislating a blank cheque for someone else.
Resume your seat, Mr Borsak.
Frankly, it has now become really unparliamentary. It's derogatory, it's untrue, it's cruel, it's dehumanising, but most of all, Chair, it is unparliamentary. I believe it was directly targeted at me, and I would ask you, please, Chair, to ask the member to retract the insinuation that somehow I am associated with throwing piss and shit at loggers. I would ask you, Chair, to ask him to withdraw that right now. And I will, at the same time, Chair, the reason it is so deeply offensive to me is my husband is an ex-logger. I live this life, unlike him who lives here in the middle of Sydney.
I reservedly withdraw my comments.
Well, thank you, Mr Borsak. It's most helpful of you.
Thank you. Without a clear definition, we are not legislating a standard at all. We are legislating a blank cheque for someone else to define later with enormous discretion and no parliamentary oversight. Even if we did try to define it, how exactly do we determine what a person has passed? Do they need to score 50 out of 100 with 10 shots, or do they have to achieve a tight grouping of shots within, say, a quarter inch with 3 or 5 shots? Those are wildly different levels of difficulty and would eliminate larger numbers of otherwise safe, responsible shooters from ever qualifying. The amendment provides no guidance on what is good enough is supposed to mean. Then there is the question of distance. At what range would these tests be undertaken? 50 metres, 120 metres, longer? We know the Greens political party and the Animal Justice political party, sock puppet, have absolutely no idea about this sort of thing, so I will explain it in simple language that even they might be able to comprehend. Different firearms and different lawful uses require different distances and different skills. A rigid one-size-fits-all test designed on paper in Macquarie Street will not reflect the realities of pest control on a farm or humane dispatch of animals at short range on the farm, in cattle yards, using a biosecurity animal disease response or in the aftermath of a wildfire. It will make law more arbitrary and not more effective. At its core, this proposal confuses accuracy with safety. It effectively attempts to make every recreational hunter and vermin control shooter into a quasi-professional sniper. That is not what a licensing system was designed to do. Firearm safety is primarily about safe storage, safe handling, proper target identification and adherence to the law, not about whether someone can shoot cloverleaf groups on a target. A mediocre marksman who follows the rules is far safer than a brilliant marksman who does not. Chasing an elite standard of precision will not meaningfully improve public safety, but it will exclude ordinary law-abiding people. The practical consequences are equally troubling. How does someone become proficient with a firearm without first having a licence? That is the catch-22 at the heart of this amendment. By demanding proof of marksmanship before granting a licence, we are effectively saying you must already have the skills that you can only lawfully acquire after we grant you the licence. That is logically impossible. If the expectation is that people somehow train in advance, where are they to do this, and with what firearms? Do the proponents of this amendment want to push people toward informal or illegal arrangements just to get practice? They would need to pass their new test. Of course they don't. Are you seriously contemplating a system where, in trying to promote safety, you unintentionally encourage people and inspire licence holders to handle firearms outside the very regulatory framework meant to keep the community safe? This amendment hands broad, ongoing power to define and redefine marksmanship standard to an unelected official from time to time. That creates uncertainty for applicants, for farmers needing vermin control, and for clubs and rangers trying to help people navigate the system. It risks inconsistent application, shifting goalposts and unnecessary appeals and litigation. Parliament should not set up a moving target that no one can clearly see. And finally, the hypocrisy of this approach becomes even clearer when viewed against the government's own conduct and the Greens political party and their publicity arm, the Invasive Species Council, silence in relation to helicopter-based aerial shooting programs. Evidence previously placed before the Parliament at the Brumby inquiry shows that during some aerial shooting operations, up to 15 shots were required to kill a single hapless Brumby. Let me repeat that for the selective hearing of the Greens political party members in this place. Evidence previously placed before this Parliament at the Brumby inquiry earlier this year that the honourable member sat in shows that during some of the aerial shooting operations, up to 15 shots were required to kill a single hapless Brumby. Where were you then, Honourable Member Sue Higginson? Was your mind on the next protest rally, spewing anti-Semitic hate and bile? Even this morning you reverted to your anti-Israel and anti-Semitic type in your speech earlier about this bill. Shame on you, shame on you. The helicopter gunships used in the Brumby slaughter in Kosciuszko was not precision marksmanship. It is prolonged, inhumane killing. We pointed it out. You know, the National Parks and Wildlife Service knows it, the local land services knows it, and the Invasive Species Council knows it. It's a bit late.
Look, apart from the really hateful, violent rhetoric that is coming out of this member's mouth, it's also entirely irrelevant. I really do think that it would serve this House to keep this as a respectful debate and for you to bring the member back to the particular amendment.
Well, I'm going to say this, Ms. Boyd. I'm going to rule against you on this occasion because Mr. Borsak's talking about the shooting of Brumbies, which is not what this bill is about. We're talking, this amendment is about expert marksmanship. He's now demonstrating how expert marksmanship wasn't in play in the shooting of Brumbies. True. So in that regard, I think he's relevant to this particular amendment. So I'm going to allow him to continue. Well, I have no more rules.
No, okay, it's a different point of order. I just think that the reference that was made in relation to what was a very offensive remark in relation to Israel should be withdrawn.
Mr Deputy President, I didn't hear that point of order, sorry.
Ms Boyd is suggesting that you made a derogatory comment about Ms Higginson and Israel.
I didn't make a derogatory comment about Israel.
I'm going to defer my decision on this. I believe that the House will be having a break very shortly, and I'm going to then refer back to the go to the video referee and have a look. Mr. Borsak, if you can continue, but as I've said, you're on target, pardon the pun, on target in terms of sticking to the amendment there before. Can you just continue on with that?
I agree with you, Mr Deputy President. Mr Deputy President, where were the calls from the Greens political party and their publicities, the Invasive Species Council calls for mandatory marksmanship standards then? Where were the Greens political party and their publicity the invasive species demands for accuracy tests, licensing thresholds, or, from time to time, recertification for government-sanctioned shooters firing from moving helicopters at live animals and taking 15 shots to kill those animals? It's extraordinary that conservation hunters and vermin control shooters operating under strict licensing and storage compliance regimes are to be subjected to some ephemeral, undefined, escalating marksmanship hurdles, while demonstrably poor outcomes from government-run aerial shooting programs which they endorse attract no such scrutiny. Frankly, Mr Deputy President, it's the normal hypocrisy you would see from the Greens political party. If marksmanship is truly a concern, it must be applied consistently, not selectively, and certainly not only when politically convenient targets are found, such as recreational and conservation hunters. If this House wants to improve safety, there are more rational options: strengthening and standardising safety training, reinforcing safe storage compliance, and supporting accredited clubs and instructors to deliver genuine education, as we promoted under the Conservation Hunting Bill, also being debated by this House recently. Those are proven pathways to safer outcomes. But legislating an undefined, ever-changing marksmanship test that people must somehow pass before they can lawfully touch a firearm is not good policy, but we know the Greens political party doesn't care about good policy unless it suits them and their political agenda. It is ineffective as a safety measure, but the Greens political party is ignorant about safety in these areas, as their advice comes from their ex-staffer, Jack Goff. Mr Goff is the CEO of the Invasive Species Council, who admitted in the last 2 inquiries in the past year he has no real practical or real knowledge, experience in hunting, wildlife management or shooting experience. Policy is not his real experience. Jack's experience is limited to being a former and probably, truth be told, the current Greens political party staffer in this place. Mr Goff, the CEO of the Invasive Species Council, stated to some attendees at the Coffs Harbour Vertebrate Pest Conference this year he provides advice, and yes, he writes speeches for the Greens political party in the New South Wales Parliament. Yes, the relationship is clear, and indeed, Jack, but thank you for declaring it. We all needed to know exactly what your position is. But most importantly, this amendment is unworkable in practice, unfair in application, and this is precisely what the Greens political party wants. It's a pity that we have to waste time on these garbage amendments like this. The SFF, of course, oppose this amendment completely.